Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving Sunday. So lovely to see everyone's shining faces. We're going to start with a prelude this morning. It's a beautiful tune called Thanksgiving Song. It's written by Mary Chapin Carpenter, and it's going to be sung by Deanna Diaz. Please enjoy.
Gather on this table. From far and near we travel home. Blessed that we are able. Grateful for this sheltered place with light in every window. Say welcome, welcome, share this feast. Come in away from sorrow. Father, mother, daughter, son, neighbor, friend, and friendless, all together, everyone. In the gift of loving kindness. Friend and friendless, all together, everyone. Let us grateful day be endless. Grateful for each hand we hold. Gather round this table.
So beautiful. Thank you, Deanna. What a lovely way to open our service this morning. It was a bit gray this morning. It looks like it's warming up a little bit. But can you feel it? The autumn in the air, right? The mornings are cooler, the breezes are brisker, the days are shorter, the leaves are flitting off the trees. We're deep in the season of autumn, and the Thanksgiving weekend is here. Are you all getting ready for a big Thanksgiving meal today or tomorrow? That age-old dilemma, do you do it on Sunday or do you do it on Monday? If you do it on Monday, it means, you have the whole weekend before Monday comes. If you do it on Sunday, well, you get Monday to relax and enjoy leftovers. So who's doing Sunday? Who's doing Monday? Oh, Sunday's winning this year. I know some people, and some people have already done it Friday or Saturday. The table in the corner has done it already. Okay, who's actually cooking and hosting this weekend? Whoa. Who's the guest at someone else's? You lucky dogs. Do you have the tradition of going around the table and saying something you're thankful for? Some, yes? Not everyone, some? For me, that's my favorite memory of Thanksgiving dinners. Just the things people say. I mean, anytime you gather a group of people around a dinner table, it's always fun, there's good laughter, good conversation. But I love the moment at Thanksgiving dinner when we pause and everyone shares something they're grateful for. You know, it's usually at that time of the evening when, like, we're done. The food is served, everyone is seated. It's kind of, especially for those people hosting. You've survived the crazy earlier moments, like as everyone was arriving, and some people arrived early. Sometimes things weren't ready yet. You've survived the arrival of that, like, one kind of weird uncle, you know, or like a strange cousin. Yeah, so by the laughter, we all know exactly what we're talking about. That person that year after year, you just decide to keep inviting and loving, even though it's difficult, because you know it's the right thing to do. You've survived the awkwardness of the new person to the gathering this year, and you're feeling this obligation, like you've got to get stuff done in the kitchen, but equally you want to be out there introducing them and making them mingle. That's always a little bit awkward. And you've survived the craziness of the kids racing around the living room, creating a cacophony of chaos that is barely tolerable. Now everyone is seated at the table, food is on the plates, and that question gets asked. Can we share one thing that we're grateful for? And those earlier crazy little ones, they are strategically now seated between their adults. They're now ever so sweet and well-behaved. And they'll often offer something cute, you know, I'm grateful for my dog, and for my stuffy. And then there's like the sometimes sulky teenagers who have spent the previous hour curled up in the armchair, hoodie down low over their face, who, when asked at the table something they're grateful for, they rise to the occasion. They often come up with something quite profound that they're grateful for, expressed in always a very few number of words, but it's enough to stun us all. And then the older teens and young adults who are truly more aware of the state of the world. This generation is so much aware of the world around them. And they're aware of the need to play the game if they actually want to eat. So they too produce the goods. And they often come up with a good, wholesome, effusive description of something specific and authentic that they're grateful for. And on it goes. There's often one weird or awkward moment, something that someone says that's like bizarre or out of context, and then that prolonged, strained silence. And then thankfully someone says something that jokingly or tactfully just moves the conversation on. And then there's that sad, poignant moment at dinner when we fondly remember someone who was at the table last year and is now gone. You know, family gatherings for important holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, they are emotionally laden events, big work events, physical work in the kitchen, moral, emotional work at the door, at the table, and in the conversations over dishes afterwards. There are lots of reasons to feel daunted in anticipation of dinners like that, and to feel utterly exhausted, shattered afterwards. So no guilt if you sometimes dread the work and the fatigue that comes on Thanksgiving weekend. It's messy, it's exhausting. Sue reminded us last week with quotes from Oliver Burkeman, life is messy, it is for everyone, and we know it will end. Fate has granted us the opportunity to get stuck in the mess we see around us, whatever it is. We are here, this is it. The river of time flows inexorably on, amazingly, confoundedly, marvelously, and we get the brief chance to go swimming in it. So whatever mess this Thanksgiving Sunday holds for you, whatever huge emotion, joy or grief, energized or demoralized, full of hope or drained of it, no matter who you are today or how you came to be here today or what plans your Thanksgiving weekend holds, we are all welcome here, just as we are. Here, the home of the North Shore Unitarians, a place, a community where we come together, celebrate together, hold each other through joys and sorrows, nourish and uplift each other, and harvest bushels of strength for each other. We sustain connections in this beloved community that meets each week on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people, and whose work it is to inspire people to live with greater depth, meaning, and purpose. And today, we're going to give thanks for all of it, for all of us wild and hungry people, each one of us just as flawed as the rest of us, each of us dealing with more than we can see and often more than we can handle, but it's all part of a larger whole, and each one of us just doing our best, just getting through. Sometimes that's as good as it gets. but today we give thanks for the glory of being alive in the mess of it. Please rise as you're able to sing our opening song, "Oh, We Give Thanks."
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for the old and young, for a time of wonder, joy and fun. For we will give as we grow and live. Oh, we give thanks for the old and young. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Another beautiful Thanksgiving song to sing. Well, good morning again. My name's Rebecca. I'm the service leader this morning, and it's so great to see so many faces, some completely new faces, some long-standing faces. Really welcome to everyone here. Each week we start our service with the lighting of candles. First, we'll light the chalice. We kindle this flame as a symbol of our gathering. May the light of understanding illuminate our darkness. May the warmth of sharing bring us peace. Next, we'll light our candle of joys and sorrows. There are indeed many joys. The first is Judith and Harry. Where are you? There they are, who celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary this past week. Amazing. Harry, I think that means you got married when you were about 12. Yeah. It's amazing, worthy of celebrating. Leslie White celebrated a birthday on Friday, a very round birthday. More about Leslie in a moment. Are there any other joys to share? All right. Now for sorrows. So as mentioned, Leslie celebrated a birthday on Friday, but she also spent Wednesday night in the emergency department with atrial fibrillation, which is a funny heart rhythm, which they successfully shocked her out of. She has had this happen before. Leslie was texting me on Thursday morning. She said, yes, they successfully converted her. And she said in her text, I've been converted a few times now, and I feel it's a very un-Unitarian thing to have happen. I just want to know the actual medical term is cardioversion, not conversion, but it's all good. I just love that the word was conversion. We're holding Leslie in light this morning. She actually had a rather terrible time of it all. She had an adverse drug reaction. She's had a prolonged recovery. And this week, she was supposed to be flying to Italy for a long-planned trip. She's in Victoria. She'll be back today. She was there to celebrate her birthday with family. And she will soon be home. I think she'll be at home dreaming of Italian wine and possibly Italian men. I have Leslie's permission to say that. So when we see Leslie, and in between times, we'll hold her in our thoughts. Sometimes life just doesn't go as planned. Other concerns, Roy Brandt came through surgery this week. He's home, he's doing well, he has good family support. Pat Brand is still in hospital and welcomes visitors. Claude is visiting family in Quebec, and they're bringing his parents' ashes and laying them to rest this weekend. So just other people in our thoughts. Are there any other sorrows or concerns to share this morning? Well, we'll light the candle of joys and sorrows for all that are mentioned and all that sit quiet in the silent sanctuary of our heart. That is the most beautiful sound in the world. So grateful. So we'll light our last candle this morning, a candle of global concern. Well, of course, today we think of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire that so far is holding in the Middle East. Thousands of people have walked back towards Gaza City into rubble and bodies. And we await news that the hostages held by Hamas have been released, and that the Palestinian prisoners that are held in Israel are freed. The choir is rehearsing a song that will be sung at the Remembrance Day service, and the words just feel so apt. Please let the weapons stay silent. No more revenge or retribution. No more war or persecution. This could be so beautiful. So whatever you do in your everyday life to encourage goodness in the world, whether you meditate, whether you keep people in your hearts, whether you send positive thoughts, or whether you pray, please do so this week. The world needs there to be peace. I don't know if that's an omen that it's a struggle to light the candle of global concerns. Okay, well, today we're going to spend some time on the topic of gratitude. It's the natural theme of Thanksgiving Sunday. But we're going to talk about real gratitude, like authentic gratitude, not the superficial social media posting of gratitude that has wiggled into common culture that really, frankly, makes us want to roll our eyes. You know what I mean? Like we walk into a store like Winners, and you see cushions embroidered with slogans like "Cultivate Gratitude." And you're like, ugh, eye roll. Today we're going to explore some subtle but important differences between the idea of giving thanks, feeling appreciation, and experiencing gratitude, and things that all connects to. At the outset, I'll just name what we all know. Gratitude is good for us, and expressing gratitude is good for us, and it's good for the recipients of our gratitude. Gratitude strengthens our spiritual health, our emotional health, and our physical health. And gratitude, it's a core component of our UU tradition. I mean, Unitarian Universalism is rooted in a transcendent experience of awe and an awareness of how utterly dependent we are on the people and the world around us for everything that matters, for everything that nourishes us. And so naturally, what flows from this is gratitude and an obligation to nurture the world in return. So let's start with a poem by Carrie Newcomer. She's an American musician and writer, and I invite you just to close your eyes and just listen. Just see what comes into your mind as you listen. 3 Gratitudes by Carrie Newcomer. Every night before I go to sleep, I say out loud 3 things I'm grateful for. All the significant, insignificant, ordinary, and extraordinary stuff of my life. It's a small practice, so humble, and yet I find I sleep better holding what lightens and softens my life ever so briefly at the end of the day. Sunlight, blueberries, good dogs, warm wool socks, a fine rain, a good friend, the first cherry blossoms in the spring, fresh basil, my father's good health, my daughter's new job. Oh, that song that always makes me cry, always at the same part, no matter how many times I hear it. Decent coffee. Frost patterns on the window, the sound of crickets in the dark. Oh, the beauty and intricacy of a huge spider web that wasn't there yesterday. The smooth, glassy surface of a morning puddle. An old coat. A new poem. My library card. Oh, that my car keeps running despite all the miles. And after saying 3 things aloud, more often than not, I get on a roll and I just keep on going. I keep naming and listing until I lie grinning, blankets pulled up to my chin, awash with wonder at the sweetness of it all. From the poem, 3 Gratitudes by Carrie Newcomer. Does anyone want to call out a few other simple but important things that we can be grateful for? Go, Jennifer, I can see you saying, what was your thought? Laughter. I love it. Family. Fresh bread. Ooh. A new dog. Nice. Say that again? Onion. Ooh. I love that.
Church community.
Oh, community of any kind, but church community, yeah. Music. Caramelized onions. I love it. Someone's going to give us a recipe next. Any others? Grandchildren, yeah. Baseball? Monica? Earthy smell of the forest. Oh, I love these, you guys. We could make our own poem. Oh, kids who want to come home. Oh. I'll add the cat that sleeps at my feet. Such good things. Thank you, everyone. You know, in the last few decades, there's been a lot of research into gratitude. Robert Emmons and Brené Brown, 2 well-known names in that area of behavioral science, social science research. There's a loose consensus about definitions. Giving thanks, for example, it's kind of thought to be something specific happens to you to feel positive, and it invokes you to feel or say thank you. It's considered brief and transactional. Interesting. Appreciation is thought to be less momentary, and it's not transactional. Appreciation is the recognition of the worth or value or quality or impact of something. And it's said to be kind of reflective but outwardly focused. In gratitude, well, it's generally accepted that gratitude has several key components. Gratitude is internal. It's the recognition of a good thing, a moment, an opportunity. Gratitude affirms that there are good things in the world, gifts or benefits that we've received. And the second part of gratitude is the recognition that the source of the goodness is outside of ourselves. It came from nature or another person, or for the theists in the room, a higher power or larger consciousness. Something outside of our skills or selves that has helped us achieve or receive something good. And David Steindl Rast, he's the American Buddhist monk, who is 99 years old this year, by the way. David Steindl Rast, he would add to his definition of gratitude that it has to be freely given. His definition says if you bought something or worked for something, then that thing doesn't usually make you truly grateful. Interesting. And of course, research supports the idea that you can't force a feeling of gratitude. However, we can behave or choose actions that cultivate an awareness or a propensity to gratitude. Attitude of gratitude. Oh, that's one of those trite phrases we see on a cushion. But we can take on practices that bring our attention to something that we have in life. We can cultivate behaviors that help us move from just feeling something to acting, so that gratitude becomes a life-giving virtue, something we act upon rather than just an internal state or thought. And of course, our connections and community help us see others' perspectives of gratitude. We role model gratitude in our conversations, our actions, and our stories. So with those thoughts in mind, thinking about thanks and appreciation and gratitude, we have 3 folks who are going to come up and each share a story that somehow relates to Thanksgiving, to this time of year, and to gratitude. And the first person is Yasha Ramsey Ladder. Yasha's been coming here since, I think it was 1996, Yasha. And as the story, as I understand, is that Lynn Sabarin came into Kids Books, which is the bookstore in Edgemont where you were working at the time, and she invited you to come to North Shore. And the experience struck a chord with Yasha and her husband Gordy, and you've been here ever since. which is lovely. And it's Yasha who's responsible for the beautiful decorations that generally happen every Sunday. So huge thanks to you, Yasha, for that. We welcome you up. Yes, woo! All right, Yasha, come on up for your story.
More.
Do you want me to take your book?
Yeah, thanks, Durham.
There we go.
Oh, it needs 2 or 3 people to be me every day now, I find. So, good morning again. My name is Yasha Ramsey, and I've been a member of this church for some 30 years. As Rebecca commented, thanks, Rebecca. And I was pleased to be asked by Rebecca to speak today, but I was kind of unclear about what I could add to the topic of gratitude. Because again, that's one we see so often on pillows, so it's like, is that still something profound? And then I decided I would describe today's topic as the background to a love story, for that is what Thanksgiving has come to mean to me. I was 4 years old when my family came to Canada from Britain as DPs. That's short for displaced persons. And my Scottish mother and Polish father were grateful that Britain supported them to move to someplace in the Commonwealth, one of the nations in the then Commonwealth where the sun never set on British land. And because Mum had an uncle in New Westminster, it was in some ways a very familiar land. So even if the land and the language and most customs were familiar, Presbyterian Scotland and Roman Catholic Poland did not have an equivalent holiday for North Americans' Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is kind of a North American holiday and celebration. So we interpreted it sort of as a harvest festival, and we enjoyed the fruit and vegetables from our farm, which had been in short supply during the war for my mum and dad. So my siblings and I grew up with God as the source of all goodness, God with capital letters, and we thanked him dutifully every day at meals and fervently on Sundays at Mass as we were instructed to do. So when I left home at 19, I stopped going to the Catholic Church and instead spent several years exploring what was then called New Age concepts, including gratitude. And I started to keep a diary of where every day I wrote 5 things I was grateful for. I've never managed to keep a diary about what I've done every day or what the weather was like. So this was a commitment that I had not so far explored by actually doing something every day. But Meister Eckhart, the theologian, mystic, and what else could we call him? The leader in this deep thought. He often quoted the prayer of thank you and said that it was enough. And I found a version of the Lord's Prayer that I liked because it substituted the request for daily bread and other demands. It substituted them for thank yous for these gifts of life instead of petitions for ever more blessings. I liked that. So Thanksgiving became a welcome break from work, but I never felt connected to the stock images of pumpkins and turkeys and pilgrims, none of which we had on our farm, and so they were kind of distant images, but nothing that I could feel or identify. And then one Thanksgiving, I was introduced to Gordy Latter, who was a friend of a friend. I was immediately smitten and decided I was going to marry him. He also had the added attraction of having a young daughter. And in fact, he has turned up today, which I didn't think he would, because he's constantly aware that I'm going to mortify him in some way. And so I have cut those sentences out of my presentation. So 2 years later, on Thanksgiving, we married in the UU Church in Vancouver, and I became Gordy's wife and a mom to his daughter. So this Thanksgiving, Gordy and I are celebrating our 45th wedding anniversary. So being introduced on Thanksgiving to being married to now able to celebrate those many years, I give thanks. And I've been lucky enough to have a bit of a career in social services and book selling and have a comfortable home, a loving family, treasured friends, and a spiritual home here. And I continue to meditate daily on 5 things I'm grateful for. And I wanted to end by quoting Harold Rosen, who was our minister here for what I think is 11 years, but other people will know better than I. It could be 25, because he was here when I came, and he's always stood in my mind as representative of our ministerial people. So he led a group of congregants through a process he called building your own theology, by answering the 5 big questions as posed by Reverend Robert Latham possibly. From the answers, an individual and personal credo could be developed. The questions are, who am I? Who is in charge? How are we saved? How do we know? And what does death mean? Harold writes, the spiritual journey, I believe, is a process of identifying ever deeper sources of gratitude. Whatever power or experience leads us to say thank you from the depths of our heart, this energy, this creative stirring, this reality functions as the divine in our lives, whether or not we choose to adopt a theological vocabulary. And that, for me, kind of answers the questions, who are we thanking? Who are we appreciating? And what is the end result of our many prayers and petitions that things should come out well for us, those we love, and everybody? So Harold ends by writing, gratitude, when developed by the heart, becomes healing, and gratitude, when developed by the mind, becomes theology. Gratitude, when developed by the soul, becomes spirituality. So thank you, Harold, for sharing your thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I wish you and all your loved ones a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving 2025.
Thank you, Yasha.
Thanks.
Thank you, Yasha. Well, next we'll have Stuart Browning, who's going to come up and share a story. Stuart is married to Jean. They're both amazing artists and retired teachers. This is a very busy time of year for them. They have a big garden that needs harvesting and wintering, and they've both just survived all the work for the North Shore Art Crawl, which happened last weekend. It's a lot of work to prepare things and to sell things at. Jean and Stu started coming to North Shore, I think around 2016. You guys can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that's when we came, and I'm pretty sure you were here then. So come on up, Stuart, to tell your story.
Good morning. I have a lot to be thankful for and grateful for. But this time of year, what I'm really grateful for is a missed airline flight and a taxi driver. I'll have to explain this to you. My son's a trader, and he works for a very large company in New York City, where their main office, the head office, is right down. Is right down in the district of New York, where all the Twin Towers are. In fact, their office was right across the street from where the Twin Towers were. So my son, when he was in 2001, he was living in Calgary, working for their office, and it was they're working at a satellite office in Calgary. But part of his job was to be in New York every couple of months for a week for business, meeting new clients, and whatever traders do, I don't know. But anyway, that was the deal. So I guess what happened is the head office decided that on September the 11th, 2001, would be a good day to have one of these meetings. So my son was working in Calgary. So on the 10th, he decided he had to get ready for this meeting. Going to be there for a week. So he was working late, and his plan was finish everything on the 10th, fly from Calgary to Toronto, get a connecting flight to New York. Well, we all know how plans work. Sometimes they go, sometimes they don't. So he did get to Toronto okay, but for whatever reason, he missed that flight. I don't know if he missed it or if he didn't book it correctly, but anyway, he wasn't going to New York that night. He was going to be staying in Toronto. So he booked a really early flight from Toronto to New York, which was an uneventful flight. He got there on the 11th, jumped in a cab, heading down to, Lower Manhattan, the head office. And as he's getting closer, he's looking around and he's seeing a lot of fire trucks. There's a lot of police cars. And there's paramedics. And he's thinking, this is kind of unusual. So as he gets closer, he and the cab driver look and go, they saw what was actually happening, seeing these Twin Towers being destroyed. And so the taxi driver said, I can't get you down there. You know, I can't get you anywhere near your office or the hotel because it's all in the same area. And then he said, but I'm not going to leave you. I'm going to find you another hotel. So with his knowledge of the city, this cab driver drove around for 2.5 hours looking for a place for my son to stay. And when he actually found it, my son pulled out his wallet to pay for what was going to be a huge taxi fare. And the taxi driver, who was Middle Eastern descent, said, I can't take your money. What's happening here is terrible. What's happening in the United States? Getting you to a safe place is payment enough for me. Now, while that was happening, old Dad here was at BCIT. I knew my son's schedule. He was supposed to be in New York on the 11th. I knew he was going to be there for a week, and I knew he was flying out on the 10th. What I didn't know is that he had missed that flight. So I assumed he was right down there, head office, where these towers were happening. So to say old Dad wasn't really amped up would be an understatement, because I was on the phone all day trying to get through to him. And finally, when I got through to him, and he told me the story about the cab driver, I was really moved. I thought, this man made a split decision to go with his heart and look after my son, rather than he could have quite easily said, look, I can't get you there. This is as close as I can get you. I'll just put you here let you up here in the corner, because I got a lot of fares to do here. I mean, people are looking for a cab. And I don't know what dispatch was saying to him, because he was tied up for 2.5 hours with my son. So I was really moved that this man, out of the goodness of his heart, would actually make that decision and look after my son. So, every September the 11th, my son and I have this tradition. I always phone him on the 11th, and we talk about the day, how are you doing, everything else. And I think about that taxi driver and what a kind person he was. And I just hope that he's retired now and that life has been really good to him, because he really stepped up for my son that day. So I'll always be grateful to that person. Thank you.
Stuart. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. Okay, and our third person is Elaine. Elaine Duval is going to come up and share a third story. Elaine's been coming here since we think about 2011, which is not long after you moved to the North Shore. Elaine's a valued member of the board, both our board and other community boards. We're super grateful. Ooh, someone's got some awesome music going on there. I just want to say, Elaine, you're such a valued member of the board. You are someone who is sage, who is rational, and so kind. You always have good and thoughtful things to share, as you will, I'm sure, now. Come on up.
You know, as this Thanksgiving approached, I found myself reflecting on the many things and people that I'm so grateful to have had in my life. And as I thought about this, I realized that most of these things revolved around the many communities that I have been a part of. Whether that was the rural community where I grew up, my work communities over the years, my women communities, and of course, the North Shore community here. I want to share a couple stories from one of these communities, and it's a while ago. about a street hockey group of preteen boys in a housing co-op where we lived with our 2 sons. It was 110 townhouses clustered around a wooded playground area, with one area particularly suited to play street hockey. And was it used? After school, weekends, every time it wasn't raining, someone would pull out the nets and the boys would pour out. And if you've ever witnessed a group of boys aged 5 to 13 playing street hockey, you know what kind of noise it made. Sticks hitting the asphalt, shouts, pass, cheers, all of you get the picture, right? Near this prime street hockey area lived a woman who was easily annoyed. And it didn't take long for conflict to emerge from that particular situation. And shouting, "Go home, you've been playing for an hour." And the boys responding, "We live here too, close your windows, play some music." And shortly after, or almost immediately, this woman started canvassing the neighborhood in order to find support to have the board of directors pass a rule against playing street hockey. Fortunately, the board, and I wasn't on the board, I wasn't there, fortunately the board decided they wouldn't take that approach. Instead, they gathered the boys together and the annoyed residents and sat down and had a conversation about the situation for the boys and the situation for this woman who was annoyed by the noise that street hockey causes. And you know, there never was a rule passed. And both the boys and this annoyed neighbor somehow found a way to respect each other's, found a way to appreciate the other side's particular problem. And we never had a problem with the boys playing street hockey again. One of the boys that played hockey, his name was Nizam. And Nizam had arrived with his family from Uganda after the tyrant Idi Amin had expelled all Asians. And Nizam's family was the first non-white family that lived in our co-op. One of our sons became a real buddy with Nizam, the kind of buddy that was in and out of each other's house all the time, walking down the streets with their arms around their shoulders, two 6-year-old boys that really loved each other. One day, our son arrived home. The street hockey game was on, so that was pretty unusual for him to arrive home. He came into the house, didn't say a word, and that was unusual as well, and went straight to his room. A few minutes later, the phone rang. It was Nizam. And he said, "Mr. Duvall, I'm so mad, I don't know what to do." Nizam came over and we had a conversation with him and his mom. And apparently what had happened was one of the older boys had called Nizam a name. And he said, "It wasn't so bad when the big boys called me names, but when Bill called me a name, I got really angry." I don't know what name he was called. I don't know if it was the N-word, or maybe it was Packy, which was a common derogatory term of that time. But Nizam's mother and I decided that we would collect the boys on Sunday morning for juice and cookies, and make it possible for Nizam to explain to the other boys what he felt and how they had made him feel. Sunday morning arrives. We're in the living room that is sparsely furnished with a very long sofa. Nizam is on one end of the sofa and our son Bill is on the other end of the sofa, most of the boys sitting on the floor. We just let Nizam tell the boys how they had made him feel. We didn't ask anybody to say, "I'm sorry." We didn't use the word racism. We simply let the boys understand from him, who was, for a 6-year-old boy to be as articulate as he was pretty amazing. As the sort of cookie and juice period went on, the two boys, Nizam and our son, edged closer and closer to the middle of the sofa with their arms around each other's shoulder. You can imagine how that made me feel. Those two 6-year-old boys, now men, are still friends, even though living across the country from each other. Nizam also had a younger brother, Mozim, who wanted to play hockey. Of course, the family couldn't afford the ice time or hockey equipment. So one of the dads in the co-op decided that they would pass on all of their used hockey equipment so that Mozim could play hockey. And he did for several years and became a pretty good hockey player. Today, Mozim has formed a nonprofit foundation called, Hockey for Youth Foundation. It's supported by the NHL, it's supported by the Canucks, and if you check out their website, you will be able to see Mozam's story about how he felt, how he learned, or how he felt included by being able to participate in hockey, and how he wanted to give that opportunity to other newcomers. So the website states that the foundation facilitates social inclusion for newcomers and sidelined youth of all genders through free ice hockey and teach program. So one tiny example of this community that has caused me to learn so much and for which I am so grateful. Thanks.
Thank you, Lee. 3 stories, 3 very different stories, but each with different takeaway messages and gratitude at the core. Let's stretch our legs and our voices and sing a beautiful song, Sanctuary, this morning.
Harmonize this next one. Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy, love right through. With thanksgiving, we are living. And again, sanctuary. Again, try harmonizing. Make us aware we are a sanctuary, each made holy, loved right through. With thanksgiving, we are living sanctuary. And one more time, lift your voices.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right, my turn for a little story. It's actually not my story. It's a little folk tale. A human was out hunting a deer. He chased the animal deep into the woods so far that he became lost. More and more lost. He couldn't find his way out. He wandered for days. He couldn't find anything to eat. He was tired and frustrated. He began to lose hope. He thought he would die of hunger. And then he stumbled upon an apple tree, a big, beautiful apple tree laden with ripe, delicious-looking apples. He was so happy. He picked 10 apples to eat. He bit into the first apple. It tasted so good. Sweetness in his mouth, juice dripping down his chin. His joy knew no bounds, and he just couldn't stop feeling grateful and blessed. He thanked life. He thanked his God. He was so happy. He couldn't believe his good fortune to find the apple tree. And then he started to eat the second apple, and he noticed that he felt slightly less grateful, and even less grateful by the time he was eating his fifth apple. Somehow, with each passing apple, the joy diminished dramatically. He just could not enjoy the 10th apple. He felt like throwing the 10th apple. The apples just no longer tasted good. He actually started complaining. In economics, this is called the law of diminishing marginal utility. In moral circles, it might be called the law of diminishing gratitude. In the story, it's just called the 10th apple effect. And of course, it represents our lack of appreciation. That 10th apple is just as sweet as the first apple. But if the 10th apple fails to give us as much pleasure as the first one, well, that's on us, because there's nothing wrong with the apples. Our world today is so afflicted with the 10th apple effect, always wanting more, not being satisfied with what we have. Brené Brown is all over this. The term used in research is culture of scarcity, the way we focus on what we don't have rather than what we do have. And Brené Brown says it's all captured by this phrase, not enough blank. This sense of perpetual dissatisfaction about stuff, our material world, not enough money, not enough clothes, not enough space, not a nice enough vacation, the 10th apple effect. A constant dissatisfaction, an insatiable craving for more, which leads us to seek more and more, convinced that more will satisfy us when, of course, it never does. This culture of scarcity has become so ingrained in our Western world and now has magnified and extended such that we now have scarcity not just about our stuff, but about self, ourselves, our physical characteristics, and our capabilities. I mean, it only takes a few seconds for any one of us to fill in this blank, right? Not enough, not good enough, not perfect enough, not thin enough, not pretty enough, never powerful enough, never successful enough, never smart enough, creative enough. We can wake up in the morning feeling, I didn't get enough sleep. We can go through the day thinking, I don't have enough time. And we can fall asleep thinking, I failed to achieve those tasks. And throughout the day, we interact with others. We're painfully aware what we're lacking. Looks, smarts, talent, money, peace, love, creativity, whatever. It's one of the hallmarks of this era we are living in. When in fact, our generation, compared to the generation before us, and certainly the ones before that, we have more of everything than humans have ever had. More stuff, more knowledge, more connection, more time, more longevity. And this so relates to all of Oliver Burkeman's work, as Sue brought to us last week. We live with this crazy myth of scarcity that guides our behavior in frantic ways. This culture of scarcity, it robs us of joy. It obliterates our joy. And the social science research is really clear. There is an antidote, and the antidote is gratitude. To literally stop saying, I don't have enough, and start appreciating what we have. Even if it feels like it's not enough, it likely is really enough. And to be clear, I'm not saying that gratitude is this Pollyanna effect. Being grateful for what you have is not about denying the negative or difficult things that are happening in our life or in the world. Rather, it's about acknowledging those challenges, those difficulties, while also recognizing and appreciating the good things that we have in our lives. It's an and thing, not a but thing. Choosing an attitude of abundance, or at least sufficiency. And the research is pretty clear that that intention, that deliberate choice, can change our whole life experience. Piglet and Winnie the Pooh knew this. One last little piece to tie into this. Brené Brown, in her work about shame and fear and vulnerability, she says in all her interviews, in all her years of research, she's never interviewed a single person who talks about joy, the capacity to really experience and soften into joy, who does not actively practice gratitude. Her line is, there is no joy without gratitude. And she closely follows that line with a second statement. She says the most terrifying, difficult emotion for us humans to experience is joy. What? Well, she explains that when we acknowledge we're feeling joy, we suddenly feel vulnerable because we fear we'll lose the joy that we're feeling. We feel the risk that comes with that joy. When we associate joy with potential loss, if we can't tolerate the idea of being vulnerable, what do? We actually avoid or step away from joy. We do what we must to avoid possible pain or loss. She tells how she interviewed a man who said for his whole life he never got too excited, never too joyful about anything. He just stayed right in the middle. Because that way, if things didn't work out, well, he wasn't devastated. And if they did work out, well, it's a pleasant surprise. I think that's probably not an uncommon life strategy. The story goes on that after 40 years of marriage, they were in a car accident and his wife was killed. And he said, the moment I realized she was gone, the first thought I had was, I should have leaned harder into those moments of joy because nothing in my avoidance behavior has protected me from what I feel now. Of course, no amount of planning or avoidance can stop pain. Adult joy knows that suffering and loss live close by life and love. And this is not a new thought. William Blake said it in the 1800s. Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. We need to bring joy into our lives so that when hard things happen, we have a reservoir of strength to tap into. And feeling joyful, experiencing joy, needs gratitude. Grateful living asks us to purposely direct our awareness to intentionally notice all that is already present and abundant in our lives, from the tiniest things of beauty, cherry blossoms or caramelized onions, to the grandest of blessings, the birth of a child or time with our grandchildren. And in doing so, we take nothing for granted. Grateful living as a daily practice, as a choice in our lives, affirms that we can be in charge of not what happens to us, but where we put our attention. We can point it towards that which serves the fullness of our lives, our relationships, and the world. And amazingly, every single opportunity, every single moment can offer us that opportunity, not just the good moments. There's no single moment that needs to escape our gratefulness. Even the difficult times, we can acknowledge that this is simply an opportunity to learn. Now, in my circles, that's called an AFGO. Another frickin' growth opportunity. So true. So with a grateful heart, we can have the choice to be in touch with the fullness of everything. May we choose to live with intention, awareness, as best we can. May we live with abundance, with gratitude, and with joy. May it be so. Our choir is now going to come up and sing a beautiful song. Well, I'm very grateful that no one's going to be too upset if the time of the service overflows. Thank you, choir, and Catherine and Allison. I now invite us into the spiritual practice of generosity. Each month here at North Shore, we collect for a specific not-for-profit organization that's a local, community-minded group and aligns with our values. Everything that goes in the offering basket goes to this organization unless otherwise indicated. During the month of October, we're collecting for the Edible Garden Project here in North Vancouver. They hold dear the belief that everyone deserves access to good food with dignity. They grow 10,000 pounds of produce every year. They sell some, and they share some to the Food Bank and the Harvest Project, and they use the farm as a place for outdoor-based, garden-based education and programs. So please give as generously as you're able. A reminder that you can give by text or credit card with instructions on the screen. And if you give by cash, please place it in a white envelope as found in the seat backs, so you can receive a tax receipt. Would the ushers please collect the offering? Next week's service is titled Universal Design by Bruce Grierson. This amazing sentence by the mother of a Special Olympics athlete: "I wouldn't change my son for the world, but I would change the world for my son." And it makes us think about how we design institutions and our buildings and our mindsets to make sure that no one's excluded. Allison has an announcement about the art project.
So, I felt like it was time to think about another backdrop for the stage for Christmas and for Advent. And amongst several ideas, this is the one I've sort of landed on. But it's these are community art projects. We had a whole bunch. Put up your hand if you were involved in doing this one. Behind us, a whole bunch of you were. Excellent, thank you. And I encourage everybody to be involved as much as you possibly can. Next week, after the service, when you've got your coffee and had something to eat, if that's what we're doing, we're going to come back upstairs and we're going to carefully unpick this one and then put on another one and stretch it on the canvas. And then we'll have curtains until the next one is finished. And then we'll start a painting project. If any of you are interested in being involved in this, please let me know. And I would love to include you. One rather special thing about it, I'm going to time the creation of this so that by Saturday, November 29th, that will be our last day that we're working on it. And we will have deliberately left some of the pieces of the stained glass empty or only just barely sketched in. And that's because I would love for the grandchildren and children of this congregation to be able to come on Saturday, November 29th and participate with anyone who wants to in finishing this up. And then it will be ready on November the 30th to be shown at the first Sunday of Advent. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Allison didn't say it explicitly, but she particularly welcomes anyone who feels they're not artsy. She has a magic about making people contribute. One last announcement. Our North Shore Unitarian Cares and Concerns team is looking for some additional volunteers. If you have time to offer to do some driving or visiting or making phone calls or preparing food for others, it doesn't have to be a lot of time, but if you're interested in helping, please speak to Shirley McDonald, Barb Kroon, Leslie White, Julia Cavell, or any board member who has a blue name tag. And one last announcement from Yasha. She would love after the service for people to come and help themselves to an apple to take home. Let us together close our service. We extinguish this flame, but carry with us the light, vision, and the warmth of hope. The world calls us to live with depth, meaning, and purpose. We go forth with courage and love. And today, with joy and gratitude. Just before we close, I'm going to ask everyone just to close your eyes just for a few seconds. I'm going to invite us into a moment of quiet. Just take a few seconds to pause before we get up and get going. And ask yourself, what am I truly grateful for? What's sitting in your heart today? What comes to mind in a profound, lingering way when I ask, what am I grateful for? Thank you. Hold on to those thoughts and feelings today. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope your holiday table experiences are joyful and not too exhausting. May you make them so. Let us circle around.